Welcome to American BBQ'ers. Today, I'm going to show you how to swap out your pellet grills controller. I'm going to be installing a Muxall version 4 controller in my pellet grill. Okay, first thing, always unplug your grill first. Then remove the 2 screws. Easily pull out your controller to what you have, how I have here. There will be some zip ties you will have to trim. Do so carefully, not hitting any wires. Okay, from here, your grill should have color-coded wires that are out right there. On this controller, it does show a couple of wires, what they are. My yellow wire, it shows as fan. I know my purple wire here is for my igniter. Black wire is your power. Then that leaves my green runs to my fan. So, very easily unplug. And if you're a little leery with doing this, you can go wire for wire. Unplug one and plug it into the appropriate one on your new controller. That's what I'll go ahead and just demonstrate for you. So I know yellow is my fan. For the Muxall, they also label purple, ignition, red is the auger, and it shows here orange is my fan. So I'm going to take my orange and white and plug it right into my fan, like so. Okay, now the next one, my purple here, is my igniter. And this is my aftermarket igniter that I did get from Muxall. So I go there. On my new controller, we know it's purple as well. So we plug it in. We make sure everything is nice and tight. Now my green is my fan. And then I know my black is my power. So just unplug it. And that, you have pretty much almost all of it unhooked, except for our RTD probe. So we're going to come up here, plug in power. That just leaves one more. It's always good to look at what you're doing. Try not to tangle your wires as you're doing this. Keep them as free as possible. Got that all plugged in. Make sure every plug is nice and tight, like so. And that leaves your RTD probe. You will need to get a small screwdriver because they are on little screws on this plug. Okay. Now RTD probes are not polarity sensitive. So it really doesn't matter if you switch or mix up the holes on this. So the Muxall actually has a little extender out for a 2-wire RTD. If your pellet grill has something different, like a 3 or a 4-wire, in the instructions, Muxall does show you how to connect as well. So we're just going to slip and make sure we're loosened here. We'll take our first probe, put it in. Always make sure this is nice and tight. A loose connection here will cause your grill to have erratic temperatures, because RTD probes are basically a small resistor. Okay, if you don't have a tight connection, you're adding another spot of resistance, so your grill will not read correct temperature and it will not stay nice and steady. So once we got those nice and tight, it's best to clean this wire situation back up. So I always start with my longest wire and just work my way from there, getting all these other wires nice and neat. And I like to leave a little slack on mine just in case I need to pull my controller out. But we'll go ahead and tighten that up a little bit more like that. Have a tie strap ready. Slip it in. It's a little cold, my fingers don't want to work. Make sure everything gets under and in the tie strap. Get that wire pushed back in there. And cinch it on down. We want to keep these wires nice and neat. We want to trim this little piece off right here, because there are moving parts back in there. We do not want anything loose that's going to catch. So once you have it like this, most pellet grills of this style has an open cavity right in here. So you want to take all these wires that you have here and you want to push them into that open cavity off to the right, like so. Then you're going to set this right in there. Now from here, this controller needs a good ground. So, in reading the instructions on our Muxall, we actually have some locking washers that come with it, and they actually stapled it onto the instruction manual for the controller. It is necessary. You have got to use these washers. They're going to help lock everything in. That way you have a good ground on your controller. And this one doesn't want to come out of the bag. There we go. And also, you notice this faceplate is super thin. The Muxall's really thick. So a little surprise or unsurprising, you got to use a different screw in order to screw this controller onto your grill. But a little surprising, I think it'd be nice if the controller would provide 2 screws, especially what they recommend for their controller, because the original screws are not going to be long enough to hold everything in place. For $300 for this controller, a couple inch-long screws I would feel shouldn't be breaking the bank to provide, but that's neither here nor there. So what you're going to do, you're going to line up. I've got the washer already on my one screw here. I've got inch-long sheet metal screws. They are number 8 head, which is a 1/4 inch hex head. And just very easily, you don't want to go nuts if you're using a hand drill or a power drill. And nice and tight, like so. That way we know we got a good ground with our washers that were provided. But there you go, the installation of a Muxall Pro BBQ controller.